It's recording. Hush! You would do that. All right, it's preparing live streaming. Yep. All right.
We are up.
Sure enough. Should we watch it again?
I can't get on this.
Austin, can you get on there and watch this? Just turn the sound down.
Trying to share it through these other posts. I can't even see it. I got Adam coming in.
5 people so far.
There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man? So I'm not seeing anything on Facebook right now. I don't know if anybody can share it to other pages.
I'm sharing it right now.
Okay. There we go. So let's do this.
The numbers start going up here shortly.
Yeah, we're just going to wait, everybody. Those of you who are already joining us, we're waiting to get more people on. Hopefully.
There's Paul.
Is Paul
He's in
coming?
He's watching.
Yep.
No, Paul, I don't need you to watch. I need you to get on, man.
Adam is still muted.
Is he?
Is that better?
Yes.
There he is.
Hey.
Well, said audio worked and then it didn't work. I don't know.
It's Chris's fault.
Yeah, it is. This is my first time doing it, guys. So, you know, you're going to have to suck it up.
I think I started a watch party for it on Facebook. If I did that right, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Whatever. So for those of you who are just joining us, we're going to be talking about running away and how it affects you. A lot of kids out there are running away, and we're going to talk about how it leads into human trafficking and other causes of it and how you could possibly prevent it. There, I'm starting to run my page. We're going to talk about how it leads into human trafficking and other causes of it and how you could possibly prevent it. All right. Does it say how many people we have on Facebook Live?
So far,
27.
25.
All right, not bad, not bad. We're gonna wait a little bit longer, let more people come in.
Is it shared on the bikers page live?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right, I can't see the comments. If there's any good questions, if someone's monitoring Facebook Live and you see a good question, just call it
Not
up.
any comments either.
What's up?
Trying to get my Facebook to work properly.
Okay, all of our Facebook.
Hey, there we go.
Hard time.
Paul says hi.
No, Paul, I don't need you to say hey. I need you to get on.
He's
He
on
said
his
he
way.
can. He's on his way to work.
Yeah, so he can't join.
Work's a crutch, man. You don't need it.
Is that Carm? Hey, Carm. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
All right, so let's get it started a little bit.
All right.
Anybody else that wants to catch up, they can go back here and rewatch.
All right, everybody. Hey, look, before we start, I want to make this really clear. We're not talking about politics. This is not what we're here for. We're here to discuss a specific topic about running away, how it affects, your children. I highly recommend parents, you get your children involved in this video and watch. If you can't do it now, it's being recorded and you can always share it later, but get everybody on board. Let's watch this together, and we're going to go ahead and start. First, what we're going to start with is family struggles, because we got to understand why it happens in the first place. And to start off, let's talk about the parent's mentality. And when we're talking about the parent's mentality, you have a child. You got to keep a certain order to things. You got to make sure, hey, I got to make sure I know what's best for my child. I've been there. I've done that. So I want to make sure my child is safe. So you're going to do whatever you can to go above and beyond to make sure your child is safe. But there's a problem. Sometimes parents use terms which not very good to use with children because they take it to heart. Like, I'm in charge, what I say goes, my house, my rules. I don't want to hear any excuses. Just do what I say. I don't care. Don't ever say I don't care. You didn't listen to me. This is not a discussion. This is not up for debate. Does anybody else have anything to add on that?
No, you're absolutely spot on.
Okay. So parents, the reason you need to stay away from terms like that is because, especially when you say something like, I don't care, it lets your child know, hey, I don't care what you have to say. I'm never going to be approachable for you to come and talk to me about anything, because sometimes that's all a child needs, is to come and talk to you about whatever it is that's going on in their lives, because there may be something happening in school or with friends that you're not quite sure about. And give me one sec. I'm going to invite someone back in. All right. So you want to stay away from these terms. So when you say I don't care, they take it to heart. When you say stuff, this is not a discussion, this is not up for debate, I'm going to be honest with you. It's actually healthy to have a healthy debate with your child, not in a sense to where you're letting them run over you, but to where you're actually letting them say, hey, this is why I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And it allows you to come back with an argument. Well, hey, this is why I'm saying this, because it builds an understanding between the two of you. And when you say this is, and let's be real, these kids today don't know how to debate. They
Yeah.
Being honest. So when you say things like this, I understand why you're saying it. You're like, hey, I told you to do something. I want it done a certain way because I've been there. I've been in your shoes. I've been a kid. I've been a teen. I've had friends. I've had influences. So the problem is they don't know that. They're assuming that you're just telling them stuff because they're like, oh, I pay the bills, I run the household, I'm the parent, so whatever I say goes. I mean, yes, in a sense, sometimes you gotta step back and say, hey, this situation, is it life threatening? If it's not life threatening, then yeah, have a healthy debate with your child. Keep calm, civil with each other, and children. I'll get to you in a second. Just because I'm telling the parents to have a healthy debate with you doesn't mean you can take it to your head and get disrespectful with it. You have to have some respect. This is not for you to take advantage of and use it as a tool or a weapon to get your way. Yeah, I'm telling parents and children this as a way to understand how to communicate with each other to avoid problems. So I said what I have to say about the parents' mentality. Does anybody want to add anything on that? Personal experience or anything?
I know for me, personal experience, I like to do, not like to do, but it's one of those things of you pick and choose your battles. Not everything with a child has to be argued. Not everything has to be made a point. If it really isn't, worth the headache to you and your child, pick and choose your battles.
Absolutely.
Not everything has to be fussed over. I mean, I think it's one of those 50-50 things. I feel like a lot of adults and a lot of parents, they, of course, naturally they want, to assert their, dominance and, hey, I'm your parent. You're going to listen to everything I have to say, whether you like it or not. And then there's that other hand of, I don't care, do what you want. It doesn't work that way, So.
Anybody else?
I feel like parents need to be a little bit more, let's just say, nosy, meaning they need to be on the computer or near a computer or have access to the computer that their child is on. They need to know what they're watching on television.
That's a good point.
When he goes over, let's just say, Susie and John's house, you need to know their parents. I'm really proactive about finding out where their parents work, what they do, because my kids cannot stay over everyone's house. And I want to know what type of parent they have. Because sometimes kids want to sneak and go over other people's house where they know they can get away with stuff that they can't get away at your house. So, or they can wear what they want to wear, whereas, I would be like, no, you're not going to wear that. So, of course, kids seem to try to find a way to find those kids who parents allow them to do what they want to, so they can go over their house and go out at nighttime or sneak out at nighttime and do what they want to do. So I believe parents need to be a lot more proactive when it goes to monitoring what their kids do and the places that they go.
Very good point. And actually, we're going to touch on that a little bit as far as knowing what they're doing on the computer, on social media. That's actually very important. There's some apps that everybody uses on a daily basis. I'm gonna be real with you; they're not safe. You're risking something. But we'll get there. Anybody else?
No.
That pretty much covers it.
Oh,
I don't necessarily call it a debate in my house, because a debate insinuates that somebody's going to win the argument, and
fair enough.
Dad's going to win that argument, I promise. But we always open up things to conversation.
Right, but as long as the child knows why, right?
Yeah, and there definitely should be that healthy balance too. You know what I mean? And whether it is a debate or whether it is conversation, and I've even seen this with a lot of parents. Both parents and children need to understand that when you're having this conversation or debate, whatever it is that you want to call it, it stays respectful. you know, you don't cross that line. You know, keep it healthy, keep it respectful, you know, that's pretty much what needs to be there. And I think that, you know, is one of those unspoken rules, but at the same time doesn't get discussed enough.
Right. Next, we're going to discuss the child and teenage mentality. But before we do that, kind of skipped a step. Y'all need to know who we are. So first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Chris Levine. I'm the director of the Human Trafficking Response Team. Then we have Scott. Scott, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Scott.
He's the Chief of Operations for the Human Trafficking Response Team. Next, we have Tori. Tori, you want to introduce yourself?
I would like for you to introduce us.
Okay, Tori is one of our top lead investigators for the Human Trafficking Response Team. She's also going to be running the operations for the state of Georgia. And then we got Heather. Heather, you want to tell us a little bit about your organization?
I am with BAA, or Bikers Against Abuse International, and I'm the cyber investigator, as well as the founder of Threads of Serenity.
Okay, and then Adam. Go ahead, man.
Yes. I'm Adam. I am the International Vice President for Bikers Against Abuse International. We are advocates for primarily children, but we do take all kinds of abuse. No matter how old you are, man, woman, child, elderly, if you need us, please check out our website. We were more than happy to take a look and see if we can.
Someone go ahead and post that website on the live chat. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and continue. We're going to talk about child-teenage mentality. There's a lot of things, and going back to what I said a little bit ago, this is not a tool. I hope your children are listening right now. This is not a tool for you to use against your parents. This is a tool to have better communication. If you want a successful life living in your household, I highly recommend you build on that communication between your family. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. As long as you try, that's what matters. But you can't, you have to understand, kids, that your parents have been in your shoes. They understand what they're talking about. Hopefully they're not just talking out their fourth point of contact. They have a reason behind it. Now, as I said, parents, you need to explain that reason so they understand, because without an explanation, they're like, okay, you're telling me this, but why? I don't get it. And if they don't get it, they're not going to want to do it. Let's be real. My parents tell me things all the time. I still don't, if they're watching, don't rub it in, but I still don't listen to them. I know I should. I know they're right.
Nobody.
I know I don't. But let's be real. The best way to kind of mitigate a lot of the problems is you got to understand where they're coming from. You got to, if you don't understand something, you need to ask. But again, don't use this as a tool to create an argument. This is not what it's for. So a lot of kids have a mentality like, but they said, or but they're doing, or you never let me, or I want, I need, when you don't understand the difference between what you want and what you need. Because let's be real, you're a kid. No one wants to hear this, but you don't know what you need. You have no life experience except what you're doing in school. Your parents are taking care of the majority of the things in the household. They're paying bills you don't have to worry about. And let me tell you something. I don't know if your parents told you this, but adulthood is really a trap. Once you start paying bills, there's no going back. Like, they're doing you a favor.
Yeah, you're done with it. Forget about it.
They're doing you a huge favor by taking care of you.
And don't fight those naps, because you'll regret that too.
Some of y'all are in that house till you're 30. It's ridiculous. But if you're being taken care of that long, hey, by all means, to each his own. But you have to understand, there's a lot of stress that goes behind doing something. So let's use an example. Let's say all your friends are joining the football team. and you ask, your parents say no. Um, uh, the problem that parents need to understand, this is where you explain why. You don't just say no. Say, hey, look, I I understand that you want to join the football team, but we can't afford it. I want to, and I'll try my best to figure something out, but we can't afford it. I don't have the money to get you a uniform. And if your child understands that, then will they still give you a hard time? Probably, but they need to understand, because they don't get that you're taking care of a majority of the things in their life. They don't understand where it's coming from. They don't understand that it takes money to keep them happy, to feed them. They just think you're bringing stuff home. They're not paying attention to that. So kids, you have to understand that life is not exactly easy for your parents. You need to, you know, forget what everybody else is doing, because everybody else is not in the same shoes as you. Everybody else's family can't buy you or buy their kids. Excuse me, let me rephrase this. Everybody else's family may be able to buy their kids whatever they want. Yours may not. Every family is different, and you have to be sensitive to that fact. So when you say I want, I need, think about it. Do you really need it? Do you really want it? Is it, you know, is it something that your family can afford? If not, you know, another thing I see kids doing is they complain about a problem. Fine, everybody has complaints, but when you complain about a problem, you're not actually doing anything. You have to bring a solution to the table. If you're like, okay, well, if you can't afford it, could I do maybe extra chores or go mow people's lawns to come up with the money to maybe go buy the uniform for the football team? You know, something simple like that. If you come up with those solutions, I'm sure your parents will work with you. If not, then that's another problem. That's out of my league right there. But when you're listening, kids, when you're listening to what your friends are saying, your friends don't know any better than you either. You your friends are pretty much best friends with a good idea fairy, and I'm here to tell you, the good idea fairy is not a good friend. And we learned that in the military. The military,
Yeah.
idea fairy is never good. You're listening to what other people are saying, and at the end of the day, what they say, it doesn't matter, because they don't know what's going on in your household. And sometimes kids, they say things and they make it sound better than it really is.
Yes.
So you also got to pay attention to that. But you know, does anybody else have anything that kids may do to kind of ignite a problem between parent and children?
I mean, I definitely don't, I definitely absolutely agree, you know, to everything that's being said, 100%. But I don't feel that parents need to go overboard either within their financials. You know, that's one thing that I do feel that maybe parents need to be careful on, you know, because it's never the child's responsibility or worry of the finances of the house, you know, because they are a child, they shouldn't worry about it. However, you know, like you said, you want to play football, you want that uniform, go mow a couple yards or, you know, something. But that, you know, that's when the child needs to step up and take initiative also. But I think that the parents need to be very careful in disclosing their finances with their children.
Absolutely. Yeah, I try dealing with my kids myself. I do my best to give them everything they ask for, but I also show them where we can and can't do things because of finances, and without giving them a full disclosure of what they actually are. Just not right now. Okay, we got to wait and see if something's going to work. You're going to have to wait. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. You know, it's how you word it and how you work with them. You don't have to open a checkbook and show it to them to tell them, hey, we don't have it. But there are ways of telling them that it's just not possible right now. And
Okay.
it's how you get it across to them is what makes them understand it. And kids as we all know, growing up at different ages, understand differently. So
Yeah.
to each their own, you have to be able to break it down to them so that they understand why they can't or why they can do something.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well said.
Cricket, cricket. All right.
Say we lost Adam. Looked like he was trying
Did I
to talk.
mute mine again?
What's up?
Oh, no, I didn't mute it again.
Oh, I thought we lost it for a second.
All right. So, hey, look, now we're going to figure out how to cope with these problems. And obviously, to cope with the problem, you have to identify what the problem is first. You got to ask yourself, parents, I already said it at the beginning of the video. Do you think your child perceives you as approachable? That's a big deal. Because if your child can't come up to you and talk to you about things, how are you going to know what's going on in their life without being overly forceful? Yes, kids are not going to like you to be overly forceful. So you want to provide them an environment to where they can actually come and talk to you and tell you, hey, this is what's going on in my life. And let's be real, the sex talk, when it comes time to talk about it, if they can't approach you and ask you questions about it, you're not being approachable for them. You want to let them know, hey, you can talk to me about anything. I'm not gonna yell at you. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna listen to what you have to say and talk you through it, why it may be a good idea, why it may not be a good idea. But you also need to listen to why they're wanting to do what they're going to do. And I think that's definitely a huge problem, because some parents, just like personal experience, my father, he wasn't very approachable. I couldn't talk to him about anything without even getting into an argument about something simple. So when it's like that, when you set an environment like that for your child, it's going to be hard for them to talk to you. But even when you're the one who approaches them, does anybody have anything to say about that?
I agree. That's a good thing. That's a good subject to bring up. And it's very important because I have 4 children, ranging from 24 to my youngest being 8. And they're 4 different people, 4 different individuals, and I talk to them 4 different ways. And then in ways, what I say by ways is my oldest one, I could be straightforward with her. My sons, I more so, I have to watch watch what I say, because for me, my sons are a little bit more things out of them. I have to ask them in a different way. So you really have to know your children to know what to talk to them about and how to talk to them.
Yeah.
As far as being approachable, I'm very straightforward. I don't play. If they need to talk to me, older ones will come to me and say, hey, Mom, can I talk to you as a friend? And that mostly means they want me to listen. But we've already established a rapport for younger, so we're able to talk about everything. Now, my younger ones, they're more still trying to figure out, but they come to me, and I just be very straightforward with them. To be honest with you, I can't sugarcoat anything when it comes to my kid. The world don't sugarcoat it to them, so I don't. If I don't teach them, they're going to learn on the streets. So I would rather for them to learn from me. And I believe more parents need to be approachable, and maybe more kids probably wouldn't get into as much trouble as they are now. Because a lot of kids that I talk to, the first thing they tell me is, you're so easy to talk to. I wish you were my mom. I wish I could talk to my mom. You really don't know how many times I hear that.
I wish Tori was my mom too.
You take me
Or
to
whatever.
the gas station.
You would be spoiled rotten, probably. Or spoiled anyway. You just do need to start listening and do more listening more than talking, because your child will tell you what you need to hear from you.
Anybody else want to elaborate?
No, I really agree with everything that Tori just said, because it's true. It can't just be, and I do the same thing with my children that Tori just mentioned. I have 4 children. So that, same thing. It's 4 different ways, because each one has their own personality, so you have to, talk to them, with their personality. You gotta, same thing with discipline too. It all goes according to the personality, how they're going to take it, things like that. And I think if more parents did that, it would be a lot better off for everybody. I definitely agree with Tori, 100%.
Absolutely.
Empowering.
All right. Look, we're gonna, as we're going on through this discussion, you're gonna see how more and more of these things kind of tie to human trafficking and how it can end up badly for your children. So please stick around. If you're on here right now, share this video so other people can get on board and watch. I think this is very important. Again, yes, it's being recorded. You can always share it later, but we want as many people as possible to see this. Just to give an example of what we just discussed, let's say if your child gets into a car accident, that makes anybody angry. You get into a car accident, your car is totaled. Now you have to think about, okay, where am I going to get another car? Accidents happen. Was it negligence? Probably. Is you getting mad and yelling at your kid going to fix it? Probably not. So that's one of those things. You have to be approachable. Your child should quickly call you up without any fear and say, hey, mom, dad, I just got into a car accident. I'm okay, but what do I need to do next? They need to confide in you. If they can't do that for something simple like that, you're setting them up for failure. And I understand where it's coming from. You want to demand, hey, this is how I want things in my household. You're being strict. Got it. There's nothing wrong with being strict, but are you being fair? So you want to make sure that you set an environment for your child to come to you and say, hey, look, I made a mistake. What am I supposed to do next? But moving on. Another thing that causes children to kind of rebel or maybe take off running, parents, do not use your child as a weapon towards other parents. When it happens a lot during custody battles. It happens a lot, family, maybe grandparents, parents won't let them see their grandparents, something. That's the worst thing you can do. Yes, you may be sour at someone on the other side, but think about what that child needs. Think about what that child wants. How is it going to affect that child? Because your child has a voice most likely and will be able to voice to you, hey, I want to go see mom. I want to go see dad. I want to go see grandma or grandpa. And if that's what they're voicing they want, and you think, hey, well, these people, you don't like them, but you also have to step back again. It's like, okay, are these bad people to a point to where it's unsafe to bring my child around them? Then I get that. But if they're not, and it's just because you don't like the other person, let your child figure out for themselves who to like or dislike. That's going to be their choice at the end of the day. Because later on, what's going to happen is they're going to grow up and they're going to go seeking answers, and they're not going to like the answers from one of the parents. So someone's going to get, the silence.
Either that or the relationship will be very awkward and just there won't be one.
Yeah, absolutely. It causes children to run away for that reason. There's multiple other reasons, but that's a big one. Does anybody else want to elaborate?
Well, I see from the past of just dealing with children is 9 times out of 10, if they want to be with a grandparent or another parent, it's who spends the most time with them. Sometimes, one parent is working, maybe the mom is working a lot, so they want to go to dad's house. Well, dad's house is the fun house, but dad spends a lot of time with the child. Or grandparents, grandparents, majority of them are retired, so they have enough time to spend with them. So when it comes to what you're saying, I've just seen in the past where it's who can spend the most time with that child. And that's what's
That is true. But a lot of kids, for the most part, they will want to spend time with the path of least resistance. So whoever's household has less rules and lets them do whatever the hell they want. That's kind of a problem also.
That does happen.
That's
Anybody
true.
else?
No.
All right. Hey, Adam, I'm gonna need you on this one, man. Hey, look, veterans, we all have our struggles. We've all been through things, whether they be worse than others or not so much as bad. This is a really touchy subject. A lot of veterans come back from overseas and they're impacted with whether it be PTSD, TBI, or maybe they're just having problems coping with their emotions or trying to figure out how to get in touch with them again. Look, parents, this is easier said than done. So all I can tell you, I can sit here and tell you things till you're blue in the face. I have experience with this because I am a veteran and I struggle with things sometimes. You need to go seek counseling, get out of your I want to look tough phase. No one cares what you look like. You need to go get help, because what's going to happen is you're bringing those emotional outbursts to your family. Your family is suffering because you don't want to get the help you need. So I've seen it recently with a case we did with a girl who ran away from home. Guy's a good guy, but he has problems. And you know, when you have problems like that and you take them out on your family instead of going to seek that help, you're putting your child at risk to run away or find a reason to go somewhere else. And I don't know, Adam, do you have anything you want to say about that?
It really is a difficult subject, no matter how you look at it or want to look at it. I've got friends of mine that call me on a daily basis just trying to keep their head together and stay in the game. And I've got other friends that I wish and I pray call me all the time and never do. And I hear horror stories about what's happened to them, what's happened to their families, everything along those lines. And it's bad for a lot of them because they do have kids. And they come home and they bring all those nightmares and, you know, the PTSD and everything that comes with that. There's a lot more that goes with it. And looking strong and looking like a hero and all that, that's great if you've got the ability to. But if there's something inside you that is not where it needs to be, it's causing turmoil in the house, it's causing unrest, if people are uneasy around you because they don't know how to act, they don't know how to speak to you without accidentally setting you off, then that's a sign. And you definitely need to get help, because that'll push a child away even faster than almost anything else you can think of. If the child thinks they can't come talk to you because if you drop a plate, if the child drops a plate on accident, you may go off the rails and, you know, may have a flashback. And yes, it's possible, but that's what the avenues are out there for. That's why there are so many out there, and there really are. It's just, you have to look and you have to be willing to take the advice and take the help to be able to get them. So many are lost every day to PTSD. People, you know, they take their own lives because they didn't seek the help that is there for them. And it's difficult to deal with daily on my level. As a veteran myself, I've lost people, you know, that I was overseas with, people that trained me and taught me how to do everything that I know are gone because they didn't seek the help, because they wanted to look brave, because they wanted to look like a hero or whatever it was going through their head at the time. And it's okay to be vulnerable. It's not easy for guys. I'll be one to admit it. I hate doing it, but it is necessary, especially if you're going to keep your home environment safe for your children and your family so that they can come speak to you when they need to.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to say anything about that?
No, I'm glad you brought it up. That was something I forgot about from the past. So that was good to bring up.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't put it in the notes, but it popped in my head, and it's, you know, it's one of the things you and I both can attest, we've seen it firsthand. You know, you bring that aggression in the household, it's going to cause problems. Look, okay, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what you should or should not do. So I'm going to tell you this. If you're having problems, go see a doctor. Plain and simple. Like, you may not like it. That's fine. You don't have to like it. What would you rather have? Would you rather have your struggles and not have your family because of those struggles? Or would you rather go get help and keep your family and keep them happy? I mean, that's a no-brainer. Let's be real. There's no excuse for it. And next,
Exactly. Going to see a doctor, you know, I just want to touch on that for veterans. Me personally, I hate going to the doctor. I've got to be on my deathbed most of the time for me to go see somebody.
mhm,
But don't think that going to get help because of PTSD or shock syndrome or whatever it is that's causing the unrest in your house, don't think that doctor is going to judge you. They're not there to judge you. They're there to help you, whether it be a psychiatrist, whether it be medical, whether it be physical, whatever it is. Nobody there is going to judge you, because the other people that are in there in that lobby waiting with you, they're there for the same reason. They want help. They want to make their lives better after what they already had to endure.
mhm. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Scott, I can talk your PTSD, but can I bring up also too in a divorce home
Yeah,
that
please.
I feel like children need to have counseling, because too many times you have children that feels like they need to pick one side or the other, and that can cause them to have, you know, different depression issues, different views on relationships. So I feel like not only should people or families go to counseling for PTSD, I feel like everybody should go to counseling if you're going through a divorce. And I
Right.
feel like kids add on to that, because it's the same hurtful situation. And a lot of the kids that you see that are going through things are from broken homes.
You're absolutely right.
Definitely. And there are different counselors. There are some counselors that double. They'll handle with like divorce law and all that, and they'll also do PTSD problems and stuff. There are also some that specialize. So don't think the help's not out there, because it is out there. You just got to do the keyboard work, I guess you can say nowadays. It used to be footwork, but
There's so much help out there, you can trip over it.
Yeah.
exactly.
Like, there's a lot of it. I mean, even if it's just talking to a friend, I recommend a doctor, because sometimes friends give you bad advice, but you know, going back to that good idea fairy. Hey, look, next we're gonna talk about something. I'm gonna go over a term with you real quick. It's called groupthink. This is a problem in the world, actually, along with, you know, parents, teens, children. For those of you who don't know what groupthink is, it's a psychological term. It's a practice of thinking where it takes away the free thinking capabilities, or it takes away your creativity, because instead of thinking for yourself, you're too busy trying to fit into the group and go along with what everybody else is saying, doing, reacting to. So if you see someone, you know, let's say you're in school and you see someone shoot a spitball at the teacher. Kids don't do that. I'm not trying to put ideas in your head. That's wrong. Don't do it. If you see a kid throw a spitball at the teacher, and then you got other kids joining in, it's that groupthink mentality. You're like, oh, I saw that. I thought it was funny, so I'm going to do it too. And then before you know it, everybody's having a problem. That's why it's hard to really make a decision for yourself. So I want kids that are listening right now, you got to get away from that. Stop listening to what your friends are telling you. I'm not saying your friends are never going to be right, but your
Pretty
friends
much never.
most likely have no credibility just because of the fact they're your age and they have as much life experience as you have, which is none. So you want to learn, and parents, it goes back. It goes back to the debating discussion we had. Like when you're talking to your parents, and parents, when you're talking to your kids, have a discussion. Talk to them about it, and it lets them think. Okay, well, I understand you're saying this because of this, this, and this. So that must mean that, you know, they come up with their own conclusions instead of like, okay, well, they said this, so that obviously it has to be true. And it's not just kids; it's parents too. Parents are guilty of it. You guys, if your friends at work or your coworkers, acquaintances tell you something, research it. Actually look it up and be like, okay, well, I heard them say this, so I'm gonna look into it and find out if it's true or not. Because if you're just going off what people say, let's be real, a lot of people are wrong half the time. It's actually a big problem here right now. We're all going through it. So you definitely have to get out of that group think mentality. The only place I can see that actually working out is in the military when you're in the field. Other than that, that doesn't do anybody any good. Yeah, you have a bunch of people who are thinking because of what other people are thinking, not because you're like coming up with your own conclusion. Hey, this is right, this is wrong. You're just going with the flow. Does anybody else want to touch on that?
No, but Debbie,
I think you froze. You still with us?
Or got muted.
Huh?
Did she mute herself?
No, I think
No,
she's frozen. There she is.
yeah, if the child is hurting, they may do what you say, then what? Someone with bad ideas become their friend, and it's horrible outcome if we don't find them.
Yep, you're absolutely right. You don't want someone who has those bad ideas to have that influence over you or your children. It doesn't work out for anybody. That's where coercion comes in, and
Yeah.
we'll get there in a second. Coercion's a big deal. You know, and next, parents, look, you got to identify what's going on with your children. You got to make sure your children understand why things are happening the way they're happening. You got to make sure you explain to them, hey, look, I understand a group of people told you this, but this is why I want you to think about whether it's right or wrong, because this is what could happen if you do it. Like let's give a basic example. You're on a bridge, you're over a river, and everybody's, you know, talking about, hey, let's jump in, you know, we'll swim back to land, get back up on the bridge and keep doing it. Sounds fun, everybody's into it, so you're like, oh, okay, great. But you know, you have that slight possibility, and you're not thinking about it because you're in that group think mentality. There's that slight possibility that when you jump off that bridge, you can hit a spot in that river where, you know, maybe you break your legs, you drowned. You're always putting a risk out there. That's why it's important for you to really listen and analyze what people are saying, because sometimes what they're saying is not in the best interest of you. And at the end of the day, the only person who's really going to look out for you is you. And yes, your family, but you know, your family can't make choices for you. In fact, I want you to remember this. A lot of people out there are so busy trying to change other people, trying to change the world. You can't change the world. You can't change other people. The only thing you can do is change yourself and live your life as an example for other people to follow. Focus on changing yourself and making yourself a better person, and you'll glide right through life. Yes, you'll have problems, but if you focus on trying to change other people, you're gonna hit a lot of speed bumps. Anybody else want to say something?
No.
And you touched on the subject the way I was just going to lay it out flat. That it goes
Yeah.
back to that old saying. I grew up with my parents telling me, well, just because your friend does it, don't mean you should do it too.
You're right.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. This whole group thing, that's exactly what it is.
Mhm.
It's what we were told. Just because they do it, you don't need to do it. It's what it is involved into. And that's what my parents told me. But now I'm telling my kids, well, this group thing isn't the same. It isn't what you want. It isn't what you need. And it really is the same thing that we were told growing up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, look, there's a lot of things that everybody can work on, but at the end of the day, if you focus on yourself, that's absolutely correct. You can only make changes for yourself. Stop worrying about what other people are doing. Next, I really want to touch on why children run away. But before we get there, I kind of want to switch things up in these notes. I want to talk about social media. Kids, parents, even. Your social media, some of y'all are using it as a diary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to be real with you. As an investigator, let's say if I'm trying to find someone who's missing,
It's the
I
first
use
place
your
we go.
social media to find you because y'all are, let's be real, there's no better term for it. Y'all are being dumb.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The things you're putting in pictures, like I found somebody once because they had a pizza box in one of their pictures on social media, and it had the address on the pizza box. And because I scanned through the photo and found that, I was able to find their location. So, I mean, you really got to think you're putting your license plates out there. You're taking a picture next to your mailbox and don't realize your address is there. You're advertising too much. And let me tell you something. Parents
Check in at Starbucks at 8 a.m. every day.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Predators, we're getting into human trafficking now. This is serious. Like, don't think that you can't fall into being a victim, because you can. Even I can.
Yes, absolutely.
There's no telling. So predators are watching everything you say and do on social media. So when you get on there and you're complaining about how life is mistreating you, you're a 15-year-old kid, maybe younger, older even, adults, you're like, oh, screw this, everything's going wrong. That predator is watching what you say, and they're devising a plan on how they're going to get you.
Yep.
They're devising a plan on how they're going to coerce you into doing what they want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you go missing. And that's how you end up doing things in life that you're going to regret for the rest of your life. And it's really no joke, because in our line
If you live through it.
That's right.
we're constantly going after people and rescuing people, trying to get them back to their families. And one of the worst things to experience as an investigator is when you find a victim of human trafficking that may have ran away from home, and you know they're in it deep and they've been in it for a while, and you go up to that person and you look them dead in the face. Hey, I know what is going on with you. This is your opportunity to get out of it. I'm telling you now, if you come with me, we will get you help. We will protect you. No harm will come to you or your family. And then they tell you no because they're so deep into it and they're terrified to leave. The only thing you can do is sit there and watch them suffer, because when they're an adult, a consenting adult, and they tell you they don't want your help, you can't help someone that doesn't admit they want it.
Right.
And I say admit because I'm pretty sure no one willingly wants to be a victim. Well, it's debatable sometimes, but there's people out there who are itching to get out of the situation they're in. And when they sit there and tell you no, they don't want your help, it hurts, because you know they need the help. And there's nothing you can do about it. And then you got to go back and tell their family, hey, they turned down my help. I can't do anything at this point.
Right.
And it's heartbreaking every time too.
It is.
It doesn't get easy. Doesn't matter how many times you do it. It sucks. So look, let's back up. Social media. What are these called? Snapchat. Snapchat, no good. Tinder, no good.
Pretty much everything on social media that you can think of is no good.
Social media is the devil.
Your location can be tracked. It can. It is. You're sitting there, like let's say you're on Snapchat, you're at a club with your friends. If they don't see what club you're at, they're gonna find out maybe through your location. If your location's on, they may be able to say, "Oh, I know that place. I've been there before." Then they're gonna go over there, wait till you're drunk out of your mind, and then you're gone. And for those of you who think I'm an adult, this can't happen to me, it can happen to you. It happens.
Absolutely.
People do it to me, it happens. So kids, you really, this goes back to what Heather said about social media, or someone mentioned about, I think it was Tori. Anyways, about looking at what your children do on the computer. You need to know what they're into. Kids, you may not like it, but I'm telling you right now, as subject matter expert, I'm telling you that you need to let your parents be involved and see what you're doing on social media, because they may be able to protect you if something happens. And if you for 1 minute think that nothing bad is going to happen to you, I'd be happy to show you examples of people who thought the same thing, and before they knew it, they were gone. They were missing. They couldn't go home to their family. They're in a life they can't get out of. You don't want that. You need to be really careful. And let's put it this way: if you're doing something on social media and you think you'd be embarrassed if your parents find out, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I definitely agree. Yeah, that was Tori that said that earlier, but I cannot ever stress enough how parents need to check their children's devices, even if, and I know that is sometimes with people, a touchy subject of, oh, well, I shouldn't snoop through my children's stuff. You're not snooping if you're making sure that your child is safe. You're not snooping, if you're making sure that there is not a sexual predator trying to latch onto your child. So it is very important for children, grandparents, whoever, to, like Tori said, really get involved with your child, your children, grandchildren, whoever. You really need to be involved with them, and one big important thing, and I don't mean to stray, but one big important thing, because of the sexual predators, that I think is very important for children, for parents or even grandparents to have with their children, is to form a password, so to speak, because a lot, and that will establish, so say if, some random creepy guy was like, oh, hey, I had to pick you up from school today because your mom got caught up at work. She told me to come and get you. And then the child was like, well, what's the password? Obviously, if they don't know it, they shouldn't be there. And that goes in, with the sexual predator thing, because sexual predators, when I had my organization exposing online sexual predators, they will watch everything. They will watch your school. They will watch the school hours, the periods on how long they last, snow days, what have you. They will watch it all.
Absolutely right.
I agree with Heather. Like
That brings up another topic that you just reminded me of, Heather. Your vehicle. People can tell so much about you by your vehicle. People got these little stick families on the back of their window and their little puppy dog. It tells everybody how many kids are in your house, mom or dad are in the house. It tells people if you have a dog. You have these apartment complex stickers that a lot of them nowadays, they're barcodes. Somebody could just walk up, take a picture of that barcode, print it out, and zip right into your apartment complex.
And yeah, and that also goes the same thing with like delivery boxes. Like, you know, somebody just got a 75-inch screen TV, but the box is sitting outside. Oh, okay, well, cool, let's go there.
I agree with both Scott and Heather. Heather, you touched very, very good points. Another thing too, as well as these, school allows kids now to bring their phones to school.
Mm.
And these kids are in, at school videotaping everything, and then they download it and put everything on social media. It's like, are you serious right now? Or they're putting their locations of what school they're at, what they're doing after school. So
Yeah,
my
and
motto,
that's the other thing. My kid's an honor student at blah, blah, blah. Come on.
right.
Come on.
My motto at my household is I pay for the phone bills, I pay for the internet, so therefore I should be able to get into anything that I would like to get into. And we should be more, I mean, because why do we wait to a child's missing and then we think, oh, let me go through their phone, oh, let me go through their computer. I don't understand that. So to me, I always question, why haven't you been doing that?
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, and that's the thing too, that even with sexual predators, you know, I won't spend very long on this subject, you know, but even with sexual predators, you know, obviously, yes, check, you know, your children's devices, of course, but you really need to really pay attention to body language. Your child could look at you all day long and be like, oh yeah, you know, if I'm fine, nothing's wrong with me. Parents need to really listen to body language. They need to listen, you know, and, you know, pay attention to their demeanor, things like that, because, you know, if something's not right, it's because it's not right. And a lot of the times when it comes to a sexual predator, you know, your child will know that sexual predator. I mean, obviously, yes, there is online sexual predators, you know, there is that category, but, you know, it does come down to, you know, a lot of times your child knows that predator. And you really have to be careful with who you allow in your home, who you allow around your child, who you allow in your circle, whether it be family, friends, what have you. And if your child is acting as if they're not okay, it's because they're not okay. That's not something to disregard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely correct, Heather. That's awesome that you brought all that up, because that's very important.
So that goes back to what we discussed about being approachable as a parent. Let's say, give a big what if. Let's say you do go through your child's social media and you see something you don't like. First thing I want you to do, not trying to be funny, remain calm. Do not lose your temper on your child. This is
Absolutely.
one of those things. If you find something that your child is doing that's unsafe and it concerns you as a parent, sit down with them and be like, hey, look, I know you're not going to like this. I went through your social media. I saw this. And before you get mad, I want to tell you why this is not a good idea. I'm not mad at you. I'm worried. You let them know, hey, look, I'm not, unless they're being rebellious about it, yeah, maybe punish them. But look, you got to talk to them and discuss, hey, this is why this is dangerous. You can't sit there and announce every little thing you're doing because X, Y, and Z could happen. You're sitting there, your kid's sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm sitting here at this bus stop. It's cold outside," something like that. That simple share right there. Let me tell you something. They sit at bus stops and watch your kids. An
Yes.
adult needs to be at that bus stop. But and saying that when you're posting something like that and you see your child doing it and you're like, okay, that made me mad, sit down with them and be like, hey, look, I saw that you're doing this. This is why you shouldn't. Or if, let's say they're talking about sex with their friends. find out what's going on, sit with them, say, hey, look, it's okay. You can talk to me about this. Let's have a discussion. Figure out what's going on with them. Because if you lose your temper on your child, they will never come to you about anything again.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff can happen to anybody. Ask Tori about somebody watching the bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
Tori has experience with that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Did
I
we lose
actually
Tori?
had. Oh yeah, I'm here. No, I'm here. I'm sorry. I actually had someone in my apartment complex taking pictures of my son and his friends. And my son just happened to nonchalantly mention it, and I of course, being an investigator, being an ex-police officer, you would think I will remain calm, but when it comes to your kids,
Yeah.
you
It's
just are like,
difficult.
like, I'm just like, are you serious right now? And
Yeah.
he actually was the one that asked the people, why are you taking pictures of us? I mean, these people were following them into the laundry facility, following the kids. I was irate. And it had been happening, and it had been happening for about a week. And so the police were called, reports were being made, but I mean, it's just like, you always feel like this cannot happen. And trust me, it can't happen to anybody, any of us. None of us are exempt from our kids being watched, followed, pictures been taken care of, kids being taken. None of us are exempt.
Absolutely. And and that's just it too, because with the whole being approachable subject, if your child can't feel like they can come to you about something so small, they're not going to come to you when something is so big.
You're absolutely right. You really are. There's always a fear to talk about something for a child, but when you're making it worse and you're letting them know, hey, I'm gonna lose my temper when you tell me this, or I find out about this, not making it easy, because that fear is already there. Because it's a big deal, and I'm talking about like the big conversations, like, hey, someone touches, let's say a teacher touches them inappropriately at school. Well, if they're afraid you're going to lose your temper and yell at them, they're already scared. They're not going to approach you and tell you that, and someone needs to know that. Because if they're doing it to that child, I'm pretty sure it's safe to bet they're doing it to others. So it needs to stop. You see what I'm saying? You really have to be careful with how you handle a situation with your child. It doesn't necessarily have to. You think about it. If it has to be addressed right away, is it going to get fixed if it is addressed right away? If you need some time to step back and say, hey, let me calm down a little bit, then do that. But other than that, it's a really huge impact when you make your child feel like you're not approachable. It's not good at all. Anybody else got anything to say on that?
I think also too, when your child have people over, or like their friends over, and you're okay with their family, make sure you interact with their parents, and sometimes, like, I'll say to my friends, their parents, hey, well, we talk about different things in our household. Are you okay with that? Because you don't want to overstep that boundary of what other kids know and they don't know. In my house, it's kind of open to conversation. So my kids may pop off and say anything. And, here we in a discussion. And I don't want to step on any toes because, like I said, I'm very direct and I'm very blunt when it comes to my kids. So talking about sex trafficking, talking about that, I feel like parents, need to make sure that when kids are in your home, they learn about those things as well. I mean, because like maybe Scott or Chris can talk to my kid and my kid will listen to them, but I'm mom, so I just say whatever, and it goes over their head. But if Scott or Chris talk to them, oh, it's the Bible. So, you know, different, different subjects. I feel like we all should be able to come as a village, because it does take a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
Real quick, I'm gonna breeze through this list real quick. These are different subjects that may cause your child to run away or want to run away. Sexual orientation. You know, they're confused about themselves. They don't know whether they're, you know, gay, straight. They don't know whether they want to be a male or female. Something, you know, something like that. It happens. Parents may not want to see it, but it happens. You got mental health, suicidal, alcohol or drug use, family dynamics like divorce, abuse, depression, being put in a hostile position, lacking in communication skills, being coerced by friends or others, and can't take the stresses at home or school. I mean, just plain and simple. Those things alone, if they're not handled correctly and handled within a timely manner, they can cause your child to run away and seek a better life with someone else that possibly coerced them into coming to them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And something I just kind of want to add to that is trust. And you may have said it, I may just not have heard it, but it's trust in your children. Yes, they're kids. They don't know everything that we know, and we don't know everything that we know. We're still figuring it out ourselves. But if the child doesn't feel like they're a trusted member of the family to be able to come and talk to you or to do something, that can be a gateway for them to start trying to push their way out the door to where they're ready to leave. So they have to feel like a member of the family and like they are trusted just as your spouse is, or your brother or your parents or whatever member of the family. They are family too. So that trust has to be extended, not just you trusting them, but they have to understand that you trust them.
Well said. Fair point. Glad
Yeah.
you said that.
Let's go ahead and move on to how it ties into human trafficking when you run away. Let's throw out a scenario. Let's go back to what Scott said about how people are posting stickers on their vans, their vehicles, the dog. Let's use the dog. Let's say your dog got out of the house. Your kids are devastated. They're sad. They want their dog back. You're posting on social media, hey, my dog is lost. You're advertising that you have a whole family on your vehicle. Predators are watching. They take that. They'll look at your plate for information. There's always a way to do it. And what they do at that point, they see you posting, you know, photos online about your missing dog. Well, if they see an opportunity where your kid is, like, let's say at the bus stop, that predator could approach your child and appeal to that child's ethos and be like, hey, I found your dog, come with me, let's go get it real quick and you can get it home. And they can lie and say, hey, your mom knows. That's a simple situation that can lead into something really, really big, which is why you have to have that open dialogue with your kids. And kids, you have to have that open dialogue with your parents and talk to them and communicate with them, because there's just nothing right about a complete stranger coming up to you and say, hey, I found your dog, get in the car, I'll take you to the dog. It's suspicious. I mean, that's just an example. There are way worse examples. There are simpler examples. It can happen in any way. If a predator feels like they can reach out to you and get you to do what they want, they're going to do it, whether it be through positive coercion or negative coercion. And for those of you who don't know what that is, a positive coercion would be, a coercion to like entice you, like the dog example. Hey, I found your dog. This is great news. I'll take you to the dog. It's like they're trying to use something positive to get you to come with them. Or negative, whether they catch you doing something and they threaten to expose you unless you do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
That would be the negative. Either way, that goes back to what I was saying. Kids, if you're doing something on social media and you don't want your parents to see it, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Not because, look, I understand it. You're a kid, you want to seem cool to your friends, but at the end of the day, your friends don't care about you. Most of them are not going to be your friends once you get out of high school.
Right.
You're going to probably lose. Is it 100%? No. But a majority of the time you lose touch with these people. You go your separate ways. It happens. You're a kid. You don't know left from right. You don't know anything about life yet because you're not out there experiencing it. So when when you got things like this going on, you can't rely on what other people are telling you. So look, hold on, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, people are always watching what you're saying, what you're doing. When you're doing things online, you got to think about how that can be used against you, not by your family, by bad people. And again, if you really feel like it can't happen to you, you're wrong. Absolutely wrong. Does anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah, I kind of want to add on to it a little bit. Scott touched it briefly. You've added on to it briefly. The whole sticker things on the back of these cars is a huge pet peeve of mine. I hate seeing it. Great, be proud of your family, be proud of your kid. But you've got these stickers on the back of your cars that shows you and your kids and your dog and the baby and all these other animals and whatever else. And then right next door to it, you got my kid is an honor student at such and such place. And then on the other side of the car, you've got my kid plays soccer for such and such school, or my kid goes to dance over here at this place. You just advertised everywhere your kids are going any given time of day. They can build a sexual predator, a human trafficker can build an entire profile off of some of the people in this world because of all these stickers all over the back of their cars.
Yeah.
They can determine if it's a boy, if it's a girl. They can get rough age estimates just on how big or small the child is, who's oldest, who's the youngest. They can determine which one goes and plays soccer, which one goes over here for dance, who goes to which school, which one's the honor student. The stickers on the back of the cars have gotten ridiculous. Be proud of your kid. Absolutely. I'm proud of mine every minute of the day. But the back of my car shows nothing about me having any kids. And that's the way I plan to keep it.
Didn't know you had a car.
Yeah.
Think you'd ride anything with more than two wheels?
Yeah, I've got one. It's hot.
Another thing that I wanted to add on to with the sexual predators is that, yes, obviously, of course, advertising is very dangerous too. And yes, obviously, the predators use that, but they'll also use it, and parents have to watch out for. Not always do sexual predators come after your child, acting as if they are a grown adult. A lot of times not a lot of times, but oftentimes a sexual predator will try to come after your child as another child, so
Absolutely.
it's, oh, okay, well, man, I'm so tired. I just got done playing soccer. And then, your child's going to be like, oh yeah, I play soccer too. And, and then the predator would be like, oh, I get done with practice at 5. And she'll be like, oh, I get done at 4:30, so just things like that, you really have to be careful because obviously I understand that this is a time, where social media is so high and that's basically just what everything is. And I've heard so many cases where children are meeting other children or just people in general on social media. But when it comes to children, you just have to be so careful because sexual predators will pretend to be children as well.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. We've seen it firsthand.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no rules on social media about who you have to be when you sign up to be.
That is true.
On a page. You can have,
yeah.
How many pages do you have, Heather, in your investigations?
Oh man, I have quite a few decoy pages myself, and I have firsthand have cases like that. I have firsthand dealt with sexual predators who have betrayed themselves as children.
Right.
It's scary, but it's out there. And that's the thing that, I think a lot of people, especially with like this live, that a lot of people need to pay attention to is because even though it's scary, these are the scary things that people need to pay attention to. These are the scary topics that need to be talked about and discussed because if no one does, no one is going to get the knowledge and understanding and get the information that they need for it and be educated.
Yeah, definitely be educated. There's a lot of things parents to this day do not know. You have to sit down with your kids and devise a plan. Hey, if this were to happen, like let's use the bus stop for an example. I guarantee you a majority of parents out there that have kids that wait at a bus stop, if someone that was a predator or someone taking pictures of your kids and your kids are like, why is this person doing it? I guarantee you none of them would think to get that license plate.
Right. Or the make and model or the color or, you know, just simple little details, you know, because the simplistic of things can make, you know, help with something so big.
I mean, a majority of kids have phones too. If you got someone coming to your bus stop and they're recording you or taking photos, do it back.
Yeah, take a picture.
That's exactly what I told my son. I said, since he's
And then run home.
Yeah.
Take a picture of them. Also, too, you'll be amazed at how many small kids are walking to the bus stop by themselves.
Ooh,
Oh my goodness. I have seen that so many times. It makes me so angry. Even just outside playing, like I have stopped. I don't care what it is I'm doing. I don't care. I have stopped and I'll be like, where is your parents? It's so crazy. I get so angry.
Heather, I am with you like 1,000,000%. And I know kids look at me like, you're not my mother.
Yes.
If you were, you would not be out here playing.
They obviously don't care about you.
Yes. I have gotten so many dirty looks, and then I have had, you know, experiences where the parent has ran at me and like, oh my God, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, why is your baby out here running around in the middle of the damn street? You know, like I ain't gonna take your baby, but somebody else might.
I'm gonna scare parents real quick and kids. I'm gonna give you the honest truth. A lot of parents think, or a lot of people, let's just say people, they think that sex or human trafficking involves like minors getting hooked into sex and it's like little girls. And I hear a lot of people saying it, like, thank you for rescuing little girls, blah, blah, blah. It's not just little girls. They're little girls, little boys, kids, male and female, adults, male and female, the elderly, male and female. And here's where it gets worse. For those of you who are sitting there saying stuff like on social media, like, oh, slavery's gone, there's no slavery. Slavery still exists.
That's right.
Labor trafficking. We call it labor trafficking now. It's still a huge deal. Labor trafficking is very big. Sex trafficking is also a thing. Obviously, that's the most common one everybody knows about. Right. And the worst one, well, I wouldn't say it's the worst one, but one of the bad ones, organ harvesting.
Yes.
That's a thing. That really happens.
Yep.
Like, people snatch you and take your organs and leave you for dead so they can sell it on. Let me explain to you. Let's paint a picture. You need a liver. Well, you have a lot of money, but you got put on a list and you have to wait a long time to get that liver. Well, okay. You got people who sell things on the black market. They're going to take somebody, take their liver, sell it to you so you can get it faster because you have more money. That happens. A lot of rich people, you know, that's a way around it. Does everybody who has money do that? No. But that's just a prime example. That's your organs are at risk under human trafficking.
Yeah.
Drug smuggling. They can take your organ out, replace it with a big old sack of drugs and tell you to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Body packing.
Yeah. I mean, you're literally a drug mule.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is so much to human trafficking that people don't understand. And if you are sitting there thinking, okay, well, I know how to fight, or I'm good, no one's going to do X, Y, Z to me, I want you to be scared of just that fact alone, that it's not just sex, it's labor, organ harvesting, sex, and drugs. And it's not you having fun with it either. You're you're taking all the abuse. There's nothing fun about it. That your life is officially messed up at that point. And sadly, it's still a problem in the United States, even in other parts of the world. If you're put into, let's say, sex trafficking and you're caught prostituting, for some reason you still get in trouble instead of getting help. And that's a huge problem. So these people who are snatching you up, putting you into this life, they're putting legal ramifications on you by making you do something you don't want to do. And most likely they're going to drug you up. You could be the toughest guy. Let's use me for an example. I can throw down when I need to, but that doesn't mean someone can't come up to me, drug me without me paying attention,
Right.
and take me. Anybody's vulnerable. You have to have that.
I took him once.
Huh?
I took him once.
Oh, okay. That's cute. Yeah, Scott over here thinks he's funny. But look, it's really serious. It doesn't matter how big, how small, how old, how young, what color you are. It doesn't matter. It's happening to everybody. They don't care who you are. They care if they can get you.
Yeah. Sex trafficking has no boundaries.
Not at all. So that was just to scare you a little bit. I hope it worked. Anybody got anything else to add on that?
No, just that most people, when they think of sex trafficking and human trafficking, labor trafficking, any of it, they only think of it happening in major cities like Atlanta, Houston, LA, New York. It's
true.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. In the smallest community with the smallest population, it still happens.
It absolutely
everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take it a step further now. Look, a lot of kids, as I say, they don't know left from right. They don't know a bad situation until it turns bad, because they don't have that perception or that experience to notice something's going on. So what's actually very common, coercion, and it could be, let's say you have a 16-year-old daughter, and this could happen to a son as well. So males don't think you're above this. It happens. So let's say you're a 16-year-old female or male, and you have a 25-year-old male or female approach you, and they're watching you say things on social media like, oh, this sucks, I want to get out of here, I can't take this anymore. They take that opportunity like, hey, I'm going to show interest in this person and maybe even try and date them. They're going to promise you things like, hey, maybe if you come with me, I can give you a better life, we could do this, and they put a lot of good ideas in your head. They sound great. And before you know it, you get it in your head, oh, okay, well, I'm going to run away. Let's talk about how we're going to do this. And they run away to that person. And actually that person that's offering them a better life turns around and forces them into something that they don't want to do. Like they say, hey, we're going to have the money to do X, Y, and Z. And then before you know it, they're like, hey, I don't have the money to do this. We might have to do something else. And maybe they coerce you at that point to maybe sell your body for money just until that you both can get on your feet, and then it becomes a bigger and bigger problem. Or once they get you, all that good stuff they were talking about goes right out the window. They drug you and keep you drugs and keep you hooked on it, and until you do what they want you to do. They're not going to let you go. They're going to take your identity. They're going to take any ID you have. They're going to take away your ability to communicate. It's pretty bad. Anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah, just kind of touching on what you were talking about with having them drugged up and brainwashed eventually. And, we've come across cases where, everybody thinks of human trafficking, you're locked in a dungeon and there's nothing but a mattress in there to where people come abuse you. We've had cases where they will freely let these people walk around, and they will turn around and go right back to their trafficker because they're so brainwashed and drugged out that they'll give them the freedom to walk up the street to McDonald's or Waffle House or wherever, to Walmart, and goof around, and they'll turn around and come right back. Some of them have even had access to vehicles, and they drive right back to where they were.
Yeah. Yep.
It's sad out there, kids. Like the whole purpose of this is to let you know, hey, everybody has trials and tribulations in your life within the household. Trying to give you a better way to handle these situations. But sometimes you may need to go to outside sources to seek that help, like a doctor. But what we're trying to put through to you is when you decide to run away from home, you are not only putting yourself at risk, but the people you care about as well. Because you're putting your family through a whole bunch of pain. I'm pretty sure they don't want to lose you. And if they do, that's another story. We'll touch on that later. But the point is, running away is not going to solve your problems. It's going to make it worse. And let's say if you do, you really absolutely want to get out of your house and you can't take it there anymore. There's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things. And I'm telling you right now, running away is the wrong way to handle it. There's a proper way to get out of your situation, and we're going to go over that soon. Yeah, I mean, we touched basically on social media, offering a better life. People are picking what you say and do apart, and they're going to use that against you to entice you to come out. So everybody who's saying great things doesn't always have your best interest, and you got to keep that in mind. Like I said, you got an innocence to the world. You haven't experienced life yet. Your mentality is like, why would someone do that? There are bad people out there. They're monsters. They don't care who you are or where you come from. They care about getting what they want from you. Plain and simple.
Yep.
Does anybody want to elaborate?
No.
I'm good.
All right. Okay, so let's talk about the legal ramifications of running away. Whether you'd be underage or of age to legally leave and make your own adult choices. Let's talk about underage first. I'm going to let my law enforcement people handle this one. Let's talk about status. What was it called? Status. Let me look at this. It's called a status offense. So a status offense is basically your status. It's, hey, your status is you're an underage minor. And they can do multiple different things. Like, let's say if you do run away from home, the law enforcement officer then has different things they can do, whether it be take you back to your family, take you to a juvenile detention center, take you to another family member. Does anybody elaborate on that has more experience?
Well, it kind of depends on the situation. If they willingly ran off or if they were coerced, like we were talking about earlier, and they want to get out and come home, then they'll get them the medical attention they need and get them home. But if they ran away and are actively still trying to run away, then you get to go spend some time in juvenile.
You're absolutely right. So you run away from home, you can actually get in trouble for it.
Especially if you run from the police when they show up to scoop you up. You're going to juvenile. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you.
You don't want that. That'll definitely stick with you. Parents, if your child runs away, one of the things that parents do is they're so caught up in trying to get their child back, and that's great, but you have to have communication with other entities like your child's school. Let them know what's going on, because it is the school's responsibility to kind of report, hey, is this person's not showing up to school? Is the parent being responsible letting their child show up? That can come back on the parents. So to cover you, you gotta let them know, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I'm going through. Keep them updated daily. Hey, this is the last thing I heard. Or let them know when you find your child and say, hey, I'm not bringing my child back to school for this amount of time because of X, Y, and Z. You don't have to go into major details. Just let them know. Keep them informed, because, again, that can come back on you as a parent.
Yeah.
But
not only that, if your child's actively missing, the school can be kind of helpful because the teachers know who they hang around.
Right.
And they know, you don't know all your kids' friends, I promise you, but your teachers do. So that can be helpful when it comes to trying to find out some information.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So you need to know before you decide to do that wrong thing and run away. There are legal ramifications for both parents and the children. Now let's talk about the people of age who are considered adults to make their own decisions. Sometimes, and me and Scott ran into this. The person is drugged up and not in their right mind. They just sound nuts. They're not acting like themselves. There are things you can do out there to get law enforcement involved where they can come and legally take that adult without their consent. You just have to be able to prove that they're not in their right mind and to a judge. The judge has to sign off on it, then law enforcement can go get them. Now, there are certain requirements to meet that. Scott, do you remember what those were?
Generally, but not enough to quote it.
Okay. Well,
I know you have to have seen them within the last specified amount of time that you're claiming that they're a danger to themselves. I think we had one case one time where the parent hadn't seen them for 3 or 4 days before they actually went missing, and they couldn't verify that they were a danger at that time.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the time, when they are older and they are able to make it does make an investigator's job harder to bring that person back home, because, again, if they say no to you, there's nothing you can do. You can't help a person that doesn't want to be helped, even if they are in a bad situation, because you can't take it upon yourself to, detain them and take them with you. It's abduction, plain and simple. Even if they're not in their right mind. That's something you got to leave up to law enforcement and the family. Sometimes we have cases where an adult, maybe 17, 18, runs away. Parents are still concerned. Now, parents, I want you to understand this. Yes, got it. You miss your child. It's still your baby. You don't want to hear this. But if that child, or excuse me, that legal adult runs away, the only thing we can really do for you is locate them. Then at that point, once we do locate them, we're not going to put you in touch with them unless they say it's okay to. Because maybe there's a reason that you're not telling us that they ran away from. So we have to ask them, hey, what's going on? Do you want to be in touch with this person? They're trying to find you. And at that point, it's out of our hands. We can't just willingly give you anybody's information without permission. Anybody want to elaborate on that?
No, I mean, that pretty much spells it out. I've had those cases where I wanted to find my 20-year-old kid because I think he's in harm's way, and I found him and got his phone number, got his email, met up with him, and okay, where's he at? Can't tell you. Yeah, sorry. He's okay is all I can tell you.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're getting ready to wrap this up, but we're going to end with this. I said there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. Kids, if you absolutely must get out of your home, there are people you can call.
Yeah.
There's literally an organization that deals with people who want to run away. It's called the National Runaway Safe Line. 1-800-RUNAWAY. That's one. 911 even may be able to help you out as long as there's, you know, an emergency that needs to be dealt with to get you out of that household. Parents can transfer legal guardianship if they're willing to work with their child and say, hey, yeah, obviously you're not happy here. Let me get you into another home. Then you have emancipation. Emancipation is another right way to do it. Does anybody have any other legal ways they can go about getting into a better environment?
When it comes to emancipation, that's if it's still there. I know that when I was younger, I had to get emancipated when I was 18, but that was because I was still in school. But I had to get emancipated once I left home. But now, and that was however many years ago, but now emancipation isn't a thing anymore here.
Yep.
That's a good question. Find out what states it's not available in, because
That's
Right.
true.
I didn't know it wasn't available up there anymore.
I have no idea either.
Well, that's something. See, we said
It
this.
is New York, so man.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
We're all adults.
If you live in New York, just run away anyway. Not just kidding.
I know.
So, let's talk about one more thing, adults. Let's say you come across a child that has run away. I want to make this perfectly clear to you. If you are hiding someone's child and you know they ran away and they're looking for that child, you become legally responsible for hiding that child. You can go to jail.
That's right.
You may think you're doing something for that child, and that's absolutely fine. If it's that bad, call Child Protective Services.
Right. There are legal and safe ways to go about it.
If you're an adult,
Otherwise, you catch a charge called hindering child custody or whatever it's called.
if you're an adult and you're encouraging a child to hide and run away, you can and most likely will be charged with a crime. Preventing a runaway from calling home, also pretty bad. Or talking to the authorities, very bad. If you know there's an active search for a child and you have access to that child, you are legally responsible to let someone know about that so it can get handled accordingly.
Right.
As soon as a child comes to your house for help, you should immediately say, hey, I don't know if this child has permission from their family to be here. I need to call someone and get this taken care of legally. That way it doesn't fall back on you. Yes, got it. Your heart's in the right place. You may want to help that child, but you got to do it the right way too. You can't just take it into your own hands. You will go to jail for it. And let's talk about this status offense that I mentioned. Status offenses, like let's say it's underage drinking. You're underage, your status is underage, you're drinking. This can backfire on the legal guardian. Police can take you into custody, return you home, convince guardians to let you stay with them, They can take you to a shelter, and again, briefly hold you in juvenile detention facility, and figure it out from there. You got to understand what kind of position you put other people in. So if you're running away from home, you're going to somebody else. Kids, you also got to think, hey, okay, I'm going to put this other person in this situation. This is going back on everything I said. You don't know what type of people they are too. There's people you could know for 30 years, and 30 years later, they can surprise you and show you a different side of them they've never showed you before. And that's, I hate to say this, sometimes you get doctors, lawyers, people you think you can trust. They're involved in bad things. And they could be the very people that coerce you into running away from home. They could be the very people that coerce you and put you in a position to where you have a life you can no longer get out of. And you're like, well, I can trust these people, so I'm going to run away and go to them. No. No adult should be coercing you to do anything that you know isn't right. And I'm telling you right now, running away, not right. You're gonna find trouble. We're actually dealing with a case right now where we're looking for someone that ran away. We're not going to say the person's name. It doesn't matter. What matters, they ran away for a reason. And we went on this whole video, we discussed multiple different reasons why a child would want to run away and how you can prevent it. Being approachable, putting them in a hostile environment. In this particular case, it's a hostile environment. That kid wanted out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way around that. If you're putting your child in a hostile environment, and let's say if I were you, I would want out of there too. But again, kids, you have to think. If you're going missing, you put yourself in danger. Predators are looking at that. They're going to take advantage of it. They're going to put you in a situation that you can't get out of. There's a right way to do things. If you absolutely must get out of that house, you need to tell somebody that can help you. Call that runaway hotline, 1-800-RUNAWAY. Now, with all these different organizations like Child Protective Services and whatnot, just because they're there doesn't mean you should jump and call them when you have a problem. Because sometimes problems can be solved by talking with your family about it. If at that point it's where you can't solve that problem by talking it over with your family or going to someone else in your family, then yes, maybe it's time for you to call somebody, or maybe talk it over with somebody else and figure out, hey, is this the best move for me? This is what I'm looking at. This is what I want to do. You have to find someone. You have to be approachable, parents. You have to. This is not just on the kid. Yes, kids rebel all the time. It's normal. But how you handle that rebellion is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean call them if mom says you can't have the newest, latest, and greatest PS4.
PS5 coming out.
Yeah.
PS5.
But also on kids that are watching this, if we have any, when we tell you to talk to somebody after you've tried speaking with your family, don't go talk to your friends. They're going to give you advice on your level. You need to go speak to, if you go to church, go talk to your preacher, go talk to your pastor. If you're not a churchgoer, find, maybe go to your teacher, speak with them. Every school has a counselor that you can go talk to. All of them. You can ask to go speak with them. Tell them what's going on. Tell them what you've tried to do so far and find out if calling one of these organizations is what's best. Make sure it's coming from somebody in a position that's there to help you, not your friends that's going to say, yeah, come on, we'll go run away and we'll go live in the woods by the river where we always swim at. That's not what you want. Do it the right way and make sure you talk to the right people.
Yep.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Hey, look, we went over a lot of information, and it's still not everything that can help you out. There's still so much more out there that people have to learn. Even we need to learn things, and that's absolutely fine. We just figured out something we need to learn, and that was the law in each state about emancipation. And that's absolutely fine. You have to be open and willing to learn those things. Parents, there are so many things going on in this world that a majority of the people are ignorant about. Plain and simple. Like, there's still things to this day I find out that shock me, and I got some experience. I've seen a lot. There's some monsters out there.
Yes, there is.
Try and think of the most imaginable thing that someone could do to somebody else. It's happening. Someone's doing it somewhere. So, you know, kids, yes, sometimes parents kind of don't handle things the way they need to. But at the same time, you got to think, are you really handling it the way you need to as well? And I can guarantee you a majority of the time you're not. You're really not. You could be, don't argue with your parents. If they're trying to tell you something, they're telling it to you for a reason. Now, it's okay to ask what that reason is. Don't be disrespectful about it. If you're doing it to be disrespectful, hey, I still believe in butt whoopings. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. I wear a leather belt every day for a reason.
Hey, I mean, you got to be. I'm not trying to tell you how to handle things in your household. It's your house. It's your business. Whether you agree with spanking or not spanking, that doesn't matter. What matters is how you handle a situation when it arises. And I'm trying to give you the tools to do what you need to do to prevent worse things from happening, because disagreements are always going to happen. I disagree with Scott about a lot of things a lot, but sometimes he puts me in my place and sometimes I put him in his place. Sometimes I have to have multiple people, say, hey, whoa, you're overthinking it. And I have a problem with overthinking. I'm sure anybody can really attest to that. So sometimes people have to bring me down a level. It's okay to be wrong about something. Just don't let it get out of hand. And we just lost Scott. But anyways, look, we're wrapping it up. If anybody has any questions for anybody, I'm trying to look on Facebook Live. I don't really see too much going on. If you have a question, say something, send us a message. I'm going to go ahead and say my organization's information. Again, we're the Human Trafficking Response Team. You can get on our page at www.htresponseteam.org. We have education material on there. The website's still being developed. We're still adding new things. If you have a question, reach out.
Say .org.
Heather, you want to go ahead and tell them about the foundation you founded and how to get a hold of you and ask questions if they need?
So my organization is called Threads of Serenity, and that is basically for rape and sexual assault survivors. So anytime a rape or sexual assault is reported and, excuse me, and the sheets, bedding, clothes, etc. is taken for that, that's where my organization comes in and replaces what has been taken, as well as providing comfort during the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And they can get a hold of me on my website, threadsofserenity.com, or Threads of Serenity with Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
You got a podcast too, don't you, Heather?
I do have a podcast, and that is Voices of Serenity, and that is for rape and sexual assault survivors to come together and share their stories in a judge-free setting. And we talk about all kinds of topics surrounding rape and sexual assault.
Okay. Adam, you want to go ahead and tell them about Bikers Against Abuse, how to get a hold of you?
Yeah. Go on our website, bikersagainst.abuse.org. The tip line has been shared several times throughout this entire video. It is simply tips@bikersagainst.abuse.org. We're there for anybody that needs us. We do primarily lean more towards underage because there is so much of a cause for it. But just because you're not a child, don't think that we won't try to help you. Reach out, send us your info. If there's something we can do, we'll let you know. If not, we will point you in the right direction. But please, if you ever doubt anything, you have questions about us, everything you need to know about our organization, where we're located, all of it is on the website, bikersagainst.abuse.org. Please reach out if you need help, if you want help, if you have questions for us, if you want to know where we are and where we aren't, where we haven't reached yet. The information's there. If you still don't see it, please reach out to one of us. Our emails, I believe my phone number is on there, along with our president, and I believe Heather's information's on there, who's in this video with us. So please reach out if you need it. We will do what we can.
Absolutely, day or night, anytime.
And we want to do more things like this. If anybody has any ideas of maybe a topic they want to hear, shoot it to us. I'm pretty sure everybody would be willing at a convenient time to do another Facebook Live and talk about, we'll basically provide you the tools you need to know to handle the situation.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep. Absolutely. I'm on board.
all right.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, look, I'm going to stay on for a little bit. I'm going to be looking out for questions and answers, or questions so I can provide answers. If y'all want to take off, you're more than welcome. If you want to stay, I haven't personally seen anybody saying anything on Facebook Live.
I am on watching your live.
Okay.
And I'm commenting under the
comments,
page.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anybody say anything. But look, again, you have.
I've got a couple things that have come up on my watch party that I shared, but there isn't a whole lot. Mostly people, admitting that, oh, I didn't know that. That's good news. I'm glad I'm hearing this.
Yeah.
It's primarily what I'm seeing, though. No, I'm not really seeing any questions right now.
There was one question that I did see, but you already covered it.
And what would that be?
That was, let me get to it because if they are minors, can't you grab them? When we were talking about the runaways.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we discussed that. If there's any doubt in your mind whatsoever, don't be afraid to reach out to us. The dumb questions are the ones that go unasked.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Know it. Don't be afraid to ask it, because it could be the difference, life or death, or whether or not you get to keep your loved ones. It's really that simple. All you gotta do is speak up.
Yep.
So if anybody doesn't have anything, I guess I can go ahead and end this. I don't see any messages coming in. So make sure you share this with as many people as you can. If you have any advice or any input that you want to add on there, comment. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. We want as many people to be educated about this situation as possible, because running away is a big problem, and running away is a majority of the ways that these young individuals are ending up in human trafficking, and we want to get rid of human trafficking. So
That's right.
all right.
Absolutely. This has been great, y'all. Glad I got to do this, and dang sure we get ready to do another one. Hit me up. Maybe we can get Paul on here next time. Get him to talk, because we all know how much he loves to talk.
Oh yeah.
Probably wouldn't have to say anything.
I know.
Yes. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and definitely reach out again.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for joining us, everybody. I look forward to doing this again, and this is it. I'm gonna go ahead and end it.
All righty. We'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.